Okay, so today I'm going to be walking through, taking you on a journey of pieces of my life, and hopefully there'll be some lessons in there that you can apply to your own journey. So this is what the general expectation of growth is, right? That perfect upward graph, confidence, promotions, success. My journey with growth has looked a little more like this. Messy, uncomfortable, and sometimes feeling really invisible. So this is me, coming up very soon. Very cute, but very strong, very stubborn, and very committed to what I wanted. So if I wanted to achieve something, I was going to do it. My grandmother, who is a huge inspiration in my life, used to really enjoy challenging me. So she used to ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and the answer was always an actress. And she'd say, okay, yes, but what if you're not an actress? What's your backup? And I'd say, I don't need a backup. I'm going to be an actress. And she just looked at me. And now, years later, I was reading Think and Grow Rich, which is a really interesting book if you haven't read it. And he actually speaks about committing to your plan so much that you burn your bridges. So this is exactly what I was doing as a young child, burning all my bridges and committing to that success. What I've also learned is that it's equally important that we accept that life may take a different path and that we have the ability to adjust to that. Because the only certainty that we have in life, especially today with AI and how fast things are moving, is uncertainty. So it's really important that we get comfortable with that and that we're able to adjust to the situations that life throws at us. I was always a high achiever, so good was never good enough for me. I wanted to achieve excellence in everything I did, as tiring as that was. And by this point, it was really clear that I was no longer going to be an actress. The skills were not there. And I think I did maybe 1 or 2 shows. My dad slept through all of them. It wasn't happening. And I was actually labeled the most confused student by my college counselor. We went through every degree you can imagine. We looked at education, dance, medicine, architecture, everything.
You actually look kind of confused.
Yeah, I was. Let's change it this one. And then she challenged me and she said, why don't you apply for one of the top 4 universities? Well, I said, oh, it's not in my master plan of life, but why not? So we chose Cambridge and we chose engineering just because maths and physics were 2 of my good subjects. So we said, why not? Let's do engineering at Cambridge. And I got called up for the interview, which was a huge honor. And that interview process, in hindsight, was such a big growth experience for me. So the interview was split into 2 parts. The first part was maths test. We hadn't yet covered that syllabus, that topic in the syllabus, so it was basically like a Chinese test. I was clueless, but did my best, filled it in. So okay, it's not great, but we'll see. Then went into the interview room with 3 professors. They asked a few questions, gave my answers, was feeling quite confident. And then they brought out a white piece of paper, which they put in front of me, and a pencil. And they asked me to draw the inside of my grandfather's engineering instruments. So my grandfather is genius next level and builds instruments for brain research. I did not have the faintest clue what the inside of these instruments looked like no idea. Remember, we chose engineering because I was good at maths and physics. It wasn't like a passion of mine. So at that point, I accepted failure. And I gave myself a backup reason. I said, you know what? I don't really fit in here anyway. And the only extracurricular activity you can do is rowing. This university isn't for me. Drew whatever I had to draw on that paper and accepted failure. They wouldn't let me not draw. I told them I have no idea. They insisted I drew something. I still have no idea what I drew to this day, but I handed in some paper, finished the interview, walked out, and was adamant, that's it. And obviously I did not get a place at Cambridge. But looking back at that, I now see that when you're faced with a challenge, you have 2 options, right? You can either accept failure, run away from the challenge, or you can really lean into it. And if we lean into our challenges, there's opportunity for growth. So they had done some research recently on a group of 10-year-old students where they gave them questions similar to my Cambridge interview, beyond their ability. Half of the group got excited and they were like, wow, I love a challenge. And the other half, not so much. They didn't like that their intelligence was being questioned and they backed off. They then got scientists involved and analyzed the brain activity in those two groups of kids. And the group that got excited, the brain activity was buzzing, radiant, the brain was on fire. And that's how we grow, by leaning into something that we don't yet know and trying to understand it deeper. The other group, there was no brain activity because they just walked away and accepted that they couldn't do it. So I challenge you today to lean into your challenges, get curious, and apply the theory of, I don't know this yet, but I want to and I can. Just for everyone's interest, I only now asked my grandfather what the inside of the instruments look like. This is not what I drew.
That's what they expected you to draw?
Yeah. I think I drew like a circle and a square. So this is also me. Fast forward 1 year. And I was pregnant, 19 years old, absolutely petrified to tell my parents. But once I got over that challenge, and my parents who are here were extremely supportive throughout my whole life, and from that day onwards, a whole new level of support. I started getting excited because yes, it was earlier than planned. I never planned to have a baby at 19. But I was engaged very young, but part of my master plan of life was to have a young family and a successful career. I didn't yet know how hard that combination is. So I said, okay, it's a bit earlier than expected, but I can make it work. I'll do university correspondence, we'll get married, we'll have the baby, it's okay. What wasn't in my master plan was what happened next, which is going to hear the baby's heartbeat, going home and watching him pack up a bag. And I looked over and I said, so, what's happening? And he's like, things haven't really been working out lately. It's like, he just heard the baby's heartbeat. He's like, yeah, but that's your thing to handle. So I did. I handled it. This is the little baby. I was lost. I was heartbroken. But I carried on. I bottled it up and I said, you know what? I can do this. Again, I'll still shuffle things around. Yes, I did my degree correspondence. I worked part-time. And I had this gorgeous boy. People often refer to me as strong. And looking back, I can say I was. In fact, I'm damn proud of that 19-year-old girl.
Yes.
But we often associate suppressing our emotion and being strong as being strong, right? I held it together. I didn't cry. I didn't want the baby to be upset. Okay, I did cry, but not much. I didn't want the baby to be upset. I can do this. But years later, through therapy, I've come to realize that suppressing emotion isn't actually strength, but processing emotion is your strength.
Yeah.
So when we go through hardship, process it, feel it, reflect on it however works for you, whether that's journaling, meditation, reflection, and you'll see how much growth comes out from not just bottling it up, but actually being in the moment and processing how you feel. We live in a world that really praises positivity. Okay, whatever struggle you're going through in life, you're going to hear people saying, stay positive, it's okay, stay positive. And it's true, in many cases that really does help. But sometimes we also just need to stay honest. Because sometimes life is shit. And that's okay, and it's okay to feel like it's shit and to be honest with yourself. And then you know what, you're going to pick yourself up and get on with it. But allow that moment for yourself. These are my babies now. And they've taught me more about personal growth than I can ever imagine. And what's interesting is that now, today, I do have a young family and a successful career. So what I wanted in my master plan still happened. And sometimes there are so many paths in front of you, and you'll still get to that end destination, just in a different route. Fast forward 12 years, because I'm on a timer. And this was me in 2024. So I don't know if anyone has ever been here. Who's been here?
Yes.
Far too many people, and that's the pace of the world that we live in. So in 2024, I hit a burnout. I had just taken CEO of Growth Gurus, which was going through huge changes. On top of that, I was working another three jobs. Because, hey, kids are expensive. I had both my kids in sports. My son had just been called into the Malta Football Academy. Training is at a really fantastic time for working parents. It's from 3 till 5 in Sajiri, 3 times a week. And when I got his nutrition plan, I actually had tears in my eyes because it was like 7 meals a day that were like uber balanced and needed a personal grocery shopper and chef. So I was left feeling, how the hell do I manage this, right? This is too much for one person to cope with. On top of that, my health was not great. I needed to do a procedure at the time. My body wasn't managing to fight the virus. I was too tired, and I had to repeat it, and it just like nothing was going according to plan. My most commonly heard sentence throughout that year was, "You look tired. Are you okay?" I was like, yeah, I'm tired. And I realized that trying to be everything to everyone, it felt like everyone needed me that year as well. My family needed me, the business needed me, my kids needed me, my partner needed me, my friends needed me, everyone needed me. And trying to be there for everyone actually led me to being absolutely nothing to anyone, including myself. Which is when boundaries came into play. My therapist had a really hard time getting me to introduce boundaries. I didn't really like them. They felt selfish to me. I'm a very overly giving person. If somebody needs something, I would be there in a heartbeat. So to me, boundaries felt selfish and wrong. But she actually taught me how important they are and how not selfish they are. She always told me, you can't pour from an empty cup. So learning to implement those boundaries really helped me, and they can be such a huge growth tool. Along with boundaries came filtering advice. So today we're lucky that we have so much advice available to us. Honestly, you can indulge in growth material all day, every day if you want to. These are some of the biggest ones. Alex Hormozi I listen to for work. I don't listen to Joe Rogan, but he's the biggest, so he's there anyway. And these two have actually really shaped a big journey of my personal growth. But you will notice there's something common with these people. I have absolutely nothing against men, but they are all men, right? So it's impossible that any of these people lived my reality that I was facing. None of them could understand the situation I was in. But yet, they were my inspiration, so I'm listening to them. So I'm hearing things like sleep 8 hours a night, grind harder, work out every day, focus on being the best in your industry, and put in the extra work and you'll succeed. Now, my thoughts were, how the fuck do I do that? On top of balancing client strategies, school lunches, don't get me started on school emails because that's a whole role in itself. Cooking all these nutritious meals 7 times a day. Deadlines, their sports activities, and trying to breathe through it, right? Listening to this and trying to filter it added more guilt to my life. I knew they were good advice. I knew I would grow if I could sleep the 8 hours a day, but it just wasn't my reality at that time. So I learned that you've got to filter through advice, and that growth isn't doing everything, but it's doing the right thing for you in the moment of life that you're in. So our life is a book, right? And there's chapters. And sometimes it's like we try to be all the chapters in one go, which we can't. There are chapters for a reason. Part of that growth journey came with learning to say no. It's crazy how no is such a simple word. 2 letters, no. No. I don't even think you can say it wrong if you try. No. No? Anyway, but yet it's still so hard for us to actually say. All of this led me to found Guru Edge last year, basically just to help people survive business and life without burnout is my goal. So previously I fast forwarded 12 years. I'm not going to go into them, but as a quick summary, in those 12 years, I did graduate my degree in maths and statistics, correspondence, because I had my baby, worked part-time, looked after my baby, tried to build up my career. Actually really struggled to find work because I was overqualified but experienced, overqualified, underexperienced, and I had about 3 hours a day available. Those were the school hours. So I'm not surprised it was hard to find work, but I struggled. Eventually found an entry role. Thankfully, I had great bosses who saw potential in me, managed to grow into senior marketing positions, then became general manager of Dr. Juice, then moved to growth gurus, had a good kind of career progression. On the side of that, I got married, had a baby, got separated, moved back in with my parents, and then started again financially and built a life for my kids from there. So some of the lessons in that journey were really bloody brutal. And some of them were really beautiful. And I'm going to leave you today with 4 of my top lessons from that period and how to apply them. So the first one is mastering your mind. Our mind is so important that we are in control of it. I came across a stat that 99% of our problems are not actually caused by the problem, but by our thoughts about the problem. So we need to start questioning ourselves and questioning our minds. One thing I often ask myself is, am I making this current situation harder for myself than it needs to be? Am I adding extra stress? Am I too focused on other people? You know, like Prash said he doesn't give a fuck. Good for him. I don't either, but so many people do. Like, way too much. In fact, today I'm going to also share 4 truths from the book Confidence, another fantastic book. And she breaks it down really honestly, and she says, number 1, nobody is thinking about you as much as you think they are. Like, they actually have their own life and their own problems. Number 2, you don't know what they're thinking. Just because they looked at you, it doesn't mean that they're thinking that they don't like your outfit or your hair or whatever they're thinking. That's what your brain is thinking that they're thinking. Number 3, you can't please everyone. Like, just accept that. You're not going to please everyone. And number 4, it's not personal. We take things so personally today. So yes, the only important comparison for me is who I was yesterday versus who I am today and who I'm going to be tomorrow. So master your mind, focus on yourself. Number 2 is practice gratitude. This is the easiest, simplest way to improve the quality of your life, hands down, and it takes minutes. I do it with my kids around the dinner table. So every night at dinner, sometimes they get bored of me, but we go around the table and we ask 4 questions. What's something good that happened today? What's something hard that happened today? What's something kind that somebody did for you? And what's something kind you did for someone? The something good is the gratitude, so that you start to look for the good in life every day. The something hard is accepting challenges, right? Like we spoke about before. Let's make it normal. Bring your challenges to the dinner table. Let's see how we can work through them. What's something kind that someone did to you teaches them to look for kindness every day. There's so much anger and frustration in the world today. So they're going through their day looking for that kind act. And what's something kind you did to someone, just make sure that they do something kind every day, because I've found that doing that brings so much more value to you than to the person you're actually being kind to. It lifts you up so much. Number 3 is allow joy. You know, Alex mentioned Brené Brown. She's one of my favorite authors. And she speaks across multiple of her books, but I reference this one, in how we're programmed to forebode joy. And when she mentioned it, I kept thinking about it, and it's so true. When something good happens, it's like we say, oh, but don't celebrate too much because something bad is going to happen.
I hate that.
You know, it's like, but we do it. And we don't need to do it ourselves. We do it to our kids, and to our friends, and to our family. You know, we downplay our success and our good moments, and we wait for the other shoe to drop. Whereas by allowing joy and just saying, this is mine, I worked for it, this is my success, and I'm going to enjoy it, you actually grow through that process because you're allowing the moment. And my last one, which also comes from Brené Brown, is to live authentically and wholeheartedly. So to just be yourself. And she uses this analogy, and I love it. It's that wholehearted living is waking up every morning and saying, no matter what gets done today and what gets left undone, I am enough. And it's going to bed at night saying, okay, today may have been imperfect, but I was brave, I was vulnerable, I was strong. Today was good. Because The world needs you. The real you, the bold you, the authentic you, and the unstoppable you. Thank you.